Man, if you guys are like this at 8 o'clock in the morning, what the heck is 1 o'clock this afternoon going to be like? It's going to be great. I want to thank the governor for his really warm introduction. He is a great leader for the state. He sets a great example for all the rest of the governors across the country. I think you're really lucky to have him, and I'm counting on you to give him as big a win as you possibly can on November 6th. Now I got into Fargo last night around 11 o'clock. Came from Montana and made my way over to the Holiday Inn. And I got into the lobby of the Holiday Inn, and I saw two things right away. Both of them were a little unnerving. First, I saw all of these people in green, pouring out of the bar with lots of drinks in their hands. And if that wasn't unnerving enough, then I saw your lieutenant governor. Very unnerving, very unnerving. I came in last night and you could feel the enthusiasm here already. Now I know it's homecoming weekend here, and I know you've got a lot to do today. And I know you've got Youngstown State in town, right, for today's game? Hey, listen, come on. You guys are the Bison. They're the Penguins. Mercy, man, mercy. Mercy on the Penguins, for goodness sakes. So I got into Fargo last night, had a great time. Saw a lot of really wonderful people in the lobby. Took a lot of photos with people. It's still amazing to me that, people live here in North Dakota know this guy from New Jersey. I can't even quite believe that I get to come out here and get a chance to talk to all of you. But here's what I know. We may be thousands of miles apart geographically, but we are together philosophically. We know where this country has to go. I back Jack too. I love Jack and Drew, and I know you're going to give him a big win. I know you are. I can feel it. I heard about how the debate went the other night, Governor. Sounds like the Bison against the Penguins, but you know. Doing all right? And I'm also here for your next United States Senator. He is going to do an extraordinary job with your help. Now, Rick Burr's got a fight on his hands, and he's not one who backs away from a fight. You know that. And it could have been the easiest thing in the world for him not to take on this fight this year. You know, he could have just walked away, not taken on the fight, but he knows that our country is in huge trouble. And he knows that one thing we don't need in Washington, D.C. is another person who thinks that Barack Obama is amazing. So listen, I wish I had more time in North Dakota, because I understand that Heidi's brother is a talk radio show host. And I understand he's a big fan of mine. So, what's his name, Drew? Joel? So Joel, first off, if you're watching, buddy, I don't give a damn what you think of me. And second, I'd like to play talk radio host for a little bit, if I could today, with Rick's opponent. I'd like to say, Heidi, tell me if you think $6 trillion in new debt on the backs of our children is amazing. I'd like to know, Heidi, if you think that putting government bureaucrats between a woman and her doctor is amazing. I'd like to know whether you think that putting government officials in between the doctor's decision about how to care for the elderly and the patient is amazing. I wonder if you think that America losing strength and authority around the world is amazing. See, I think it is amazing. I agree with Heidi. It's amazingly bad for America. Amazingly bad for America. And while I'm sure she's a very nice lady, here's the bottom line. Doesn't matter how nice you are, and Senator Hoven will tell you this, it matters how you vote when you get to Washington, D.C. And here's what's going to happen if you send Heidi to Washington, D.C. All she's going to do when those votes come up in the Senate is she's going to walk down on the floor, and she's going to walk over to Harry Reid, and she's going to say, Harry, how should I vote today? How should I vote today, Harry? How do you want me to vote? Because I know you and I both think the president's amazing. How should I vote today? You don't need somebody who's going to go to Harry Reid to ask him how to vote. You need to elect someone who's going to bring North Dakota values to Washington, D.C., just like Senator Hoven has done. He needs a strong and resolute partner in Washington, D.C., and Rick Berg is the guy. See, here's something else that I know. You know, Harry Reid, if you elect Rick Berg, it's going to be great. Because Harry Reid will be sitting at the kids' table at the White House with President Mitt Romney. You can bet on that. Because our country, we know what our country needs to do. And just North Dakotans understand this as well as anybody. You all want the truth. You're tired of focus group tested answers. You're tired of blow-dried politicians who will just look at you and look in your eye, and you know they do this, right? They look at you and they say, geez, what is it she wants to hear today? What is it that's going to make her feel good and smile and vote for me? And gosh, after I say it, I pray she doesn't remember, because then I might actually be held to account for it. You're tired of those type of politicians running our country. You're tired of watching a president of the United States who doesn't get it, who doesn't understand that leading is about telling the truth. Leading is about taking on the big issues, the tough issues. I mean, I loved hearing the other night that the president has a plan to settle $4 trillion in debt. I mean, why has he been keeping it a secret for so long? He's got plans to create 1 million new manufacturing jobs. Doesn't tell us how. You know, it seems to me like all these new jobs and lower debt and lower tuition and all the stuff he's promising now, seems to me it sounds very much like hope and change, everybody. Sounds very much like hope and change. And we know some of us bought hope and change 4 years ago. And what we've gotten is high unemployment, huge debt, and diminished American prestige at home and around the world, and a government that is so divided and so divisive. He is no longer the commander-in-chief, he is the partisan-in-chief, and we need to send him a direct message, not only by giving him a plane ticket back to Chicago on November 6th, but believe me, if you soundly defeat the one candidate in America for the United States Senate who thinks he's amazing, you are going to be sending an enormous, enormous message to the whole country. See, North Dakota has a chance to send a huge message to America. Not just take care of yourselves and your state and your representation in Washington, but send a huge message to America. Then we're not buying this garbage anymore. that we're not going to sit here and be treated like children anymore. We want real adults to lead us. We want guys like Rick Berg to be in the United States Senate. And I tell you, I like this Kevin Cramer guy. We're seeing some enormous leadership coming out of North Dakota in every way. In every one of your major offices, we're seeing enormous leadership come out. And we've got to vote for all of them. We've got to vote for the whole ticket on November 6th to send a clear message. Now, you're here at this rally this morning and getting ready to go to the parade. It's a great day. It's a beautiful day in Fargo. And I want to leave you with this. You got 4 weeks to go in this election. And there's some close races here. And I want all of you, after you have a good time today, after you beat the tar out of Youngstown State, after you enjoy the whole rest of the weekend, after you do all that, I want you to promise me that tomorrow, after you go to church, when you come home and you sit around the table, that you're going to take your calendars out and you're going to look at what you've got planned for the next 4 weeks. And you're going to decide what you can do without so that you can spend a few hours every week on the great candidates you have standing behind me. Because you see, I still believe that the most powerful thing in American politics is not a 30-second TV ad. It's not a piece of mail in a mailbox. It is not even a warm, supportive, and charming automated telephone call from the governor of New Jersey. Now that is powerful, but it's not as powerful as this. See, the most powerful thing in American politics always has been and always will be you. You. And here's how. Not just with your vote. Because if you're here this morning, we know who's here, by the way. We've taken names. And we're expecting that all of you are voting for all these folks up here. But that's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about. Here's what I'm talking about. Give us 2 hours every week for the next 4 weeks. Go through your phone book. Call every neighbor, friend, relative, client, business colleague that you have in that book and tell them, not only do I support these guys, I'm working for them. I'm taking hours out of my life to call you and say, listen, I've met Governor Dalrymple. I've met Lieutenant Governor Wrigley. I've met Congressman Berg. I've met Kevin Cramer. I've looked them in the eye. I've taken the measure of their character. And I'm with them. And I need you to be with them too. See, there's nothing more powerful than that. See, because so many people in North Dakota are working so hard. And they want to be involved citizens, but not all of them have the time to do what you all are doing this morning. And so they want to make the right decision, but they're not quite sure. You can help make them sure. Because you're their friend and neighbor. You're their relative. You're their coworker. They trust you. And they know you're here this morning. They know you're involved. They know you're informed. They know you care. You can move votes. You can move votes more than anything. And then when you get done with that phone book, I don't think you're done then. Then, on the football fields on Friday night, on the soccer fields on Saturday afternoon, in the church parking lot on Sunday, in the supermarket checkout line on Monday. Everybody you see that you know, in all those instances, don't be shy. Take it from me. It doesn't pay. Don't be shy. Go up to them and say, listen, you're voting on the 6th, right? You're voting. And once they say yes, you're going to say, I know the people you should vote for. Because I know them, I've met them. Please help us. You could be a part of changing history. Not only for North Dakota, but for America. And imagine that. Imagine what it's going to feel like on November 6th if you do that for the next 4 weeks. If you give these folks 2 hours a week for the next 4 weeks, everybody in this room does that. And you watch those returns come in that Tuesday night. And you see Jack Dalrymple and Drew Wrigley going back to the State House. And you see Rick Berg going to the United States Senate. And you see Kevin Cramer going to the House of Representatives. And as good Republicans, you'll be happy. But the real joy The inner joy comes from knowing you were part of a movement. You were part of making it happen, not just with your own vote, but with your voice and your heart and your mind. The gifts that God has given to all of us, he expects us to use. He expects us to use them to make our communities a better place, to make our state a better place, to make our country a better place. You see, because I know here's what I know, and this is what I know about North Dakotans, and this is what I know about most Americans too. We don't want to be the first generation who leaves the next generation to clean up our mess. All right? And the last thing I'll tell you is what I know about North Dakota families. And I learned this, I have to tell you the truth, I learned this from Drew. All the years that we worked together, he spent lots of time when we were U.S. attorneys talking to me about his family and what they built here in North Dakota and how thrilled he was to be able to raise his children in North Dakota and how important it was to him. And so as I was coming out here last night, I thought to myself, the way I wanted to end my talk with you today was to reflect upon those things that Drew told me about North Dakota families and his family. And you see, what's going to happen is, if our country doesn't get it together, and the next generation of North Dakotans can't find a good job here like they're finding them now, can't find a job that's going to help them to buy a good home for themselves, to be able to save money to educate their children, you know what's going to happen? They're going to leave North Dakota. They're going to leave North Dakota and go to the places where they can get those jobs, where they can afford those homes, wherever that is in the United States. And that tears North Dakota families apart. And so, the stakes here are this. It's the Little League games. It's the soccer tournaments. It's the Christmas concerts. It's the spring plays. It's the little birthday parties around the kitchen table. The ones that we had our grandparents come to, and that when your grandparents, you want to come to. And you don't want to have to get on an airplane to do it. You want to be able to drive from your neighborhood to their neighborhood, right here in North Dakota. See, that's what makes North Dakota so special. That's one of the things that Wrigley taught me about this place, was that's what makes North Dakota so special. Generation after generation of people who have built this state with their own hands and who want their children and grandchildren to be a part of building this state to even higher heights with their own hands. The stakes in this election, from Mitt Romney to Rick Berg to Jack Dalrymple and Drew Wrigley and Kevin Kramer, those are the stakes, everybody. What kind of North Dakota are we going to have for our children and grandchildren? What kind of America are we going to have for our children and grandchildren? I am tired of politicians caring more about getting reelected than they care about those kids' futures. I am tired about politicians who care more of looking in the mirror than they care about looking into the future. I am tired of politicians who don't understand America's future is at a crossroads. These guys get it. Vote for them on November 6th. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.